As a society, we are taught that wellness is aesthetic, and we forget that our body is really giving us warning signs. I was having major flank pain. I was having tingling. I was having numbness. I was having constipation. And you were the only practitioner who took me serious and didn't make me feel like I was making this up.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Hormone Lifestyle Zone. I'm your host, Meg Riccici, and I created this podcast series to help women demystify their hormonal issues and struggles and the many things that dance in between that I refer to as the dust balls of life. But now, since we're in the holiday season, they're usually the little ornaments that roll across the floor. I myself stepped on one the other day. Thankfully, it was made out of fabric. And it wasn't those cute little ornaments that I've collected like forever. But there's always something we have to tackle in our lives. Today's episode is the final podcast for 2024. We're now in the holiday season, and I am preparing for my podcast lineup for 2025. I want to thank you for joining me on the Hormone Lifestyle Zone since, the summer of 2018. Thank you for being a loyal listener and subscriber. And if you are new to this podcast, I want to thank you for being here today. And if you like what you hear, write a good review and subscribe on iTunes or Spotify. And I have a request today. I'm curious to hear which topics intrigue or interest you, topics that you would like me to delve into, to explore, take a deep dive on the Hormone Lifestyle Zone. So email me your recommendations, and you can go to megriccici.com or you can go to info@megriccici.com. Shoot me an email because I want to provide you with information that is relevant and really hits home for you. I'm looking forward to receiving those emails from you. So I have a lovely guest, and her name is Ky'Osha Williams, and she is going to be joining me in a few minutes. She is also a client of mine, and we have been working together since mid-July. And the reason I have her here today, it's kind of in response to, the past two podcasts, podcast 57 and 58, has been about the gut hormone connection and how to, create a gut hormone reset. And this is the book that I'm also working on right now that I mentioned. I'm so immersed in this because if your gut is wonky, if you're having gas, bloat, heartburn, constipation, diarrhea, your hormones will never be in balance. And it's not just your hormones. Your overall health will never be in balance. This is the type of stuff, the dysbiosis, the inflammation, the leaky gut, that can trigger autoimmune issues, that can trigger anxiety and depression, that can also be part of the picture of why people have parasites. That's part of today's podcast. I would love for you to listen to 57 and 58. If you haven't, I'll give you an incredible amount of information so you have a better understanding of your gut and your hormones and how you can enhance and improve your health. I want to give a backstory to Ky'Osha Williams. Ky'Osha was following an influencer on Instagram, actually a client. She had been on a podcast. Julia was on my podcast a few episodes ago, and it was her journey working with me and addressing her gut and underlying issues. So Ky'Osha had reached out to me and was having an array of symptoms from constipation to gas and bloat and acid reflux. And the backstory to all of this started happening in 2016. She is, which I left out, very important. This woman is a mobile crisis clinician. She is on the front lines of mental health. She works directly with individuals in serious crisis, metaphorically and almost literally speaking. She's a person that talks you off the ledge. This is a high stress job. And why do I bring this up? Because stress is part of the picture to what occurred, what happened for Ky'Osha in 2016. So she was working as a mobile crisis clinician for an organization, incredibly burnt out, run down, and she had gotten sick, and her physician had put her on a Z-Pack and said that she had a viral lung infection. And he said to her, if she wasn't better in a week, that she should come back and see him. I thought that was interesting. My assumption is that he thought that this was probably going down the direction of becoming a bacterial infection. Well, she started getting progressively worse. She was hospitalized. She had been in the hospital diagnosed as having bacterial pneumonia. She'd been in the hospital for a week. She had been administered intravenous antibiotics, IV drips, for 5 days. And on the last day she was in the hospital, she was told, oops, you don't have bacterial pneumonia. You have viral pneumonia. I'm taking a pause because viral pneumonia is a contraindication, any type of virus, for being administered an antibiotic. And also an IV antibiotic, that's when they take out the guns, when they feel oral antibiotics cannot do the job. And this is where her health started to slide and spiral downward. This is when Ky'Osha started experiencing gas and bloat and heartburn and constipation and funky noises in her belly when she was digesting food. And she'll go into this further, she became a vegetarian and cut out meat because she felt that this was part of the problem. She wasn't able to digest meat. She had a lot of PMS symptoms. Her libido tanked. She was tired, exhausted, and the list goes on. And she wasn't getting answers from her doctors. And there was no root cause exploration of why. So today's conversation is about peeling back the onion. I want to share with you what I did working with Ky'Osha to get her to the place where she is now. And we're going to go through her symptoms and the various stages of her healing process. And my love, without further ado, I want to welcome you to the Hormone Lifestyle Zone. Hey, Ky'Osha.
Hi.
It's good to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here.
So did I give a clear description of kind of that backdrop of your history with the pneumonia?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, you did.
I want to ask you again, and I did this before. Prior to you having pneumonia, prior to that time that you were in the hospital, you were like 28 at the time?
Early 30s.
Early 30s?
Yes.
Okay. Making me younger. I'll make myself younger too. Yeah. I'm 28. Where you were working, it was really stressful, more so
Yes.
than where you are right now.
Yes.
Can you tell people, describe what you do?
So currently I am a mobile crisis clinician and I do work for the state of Connecticut. We service between 16 and 18 different towns. And we do, like Meg said, we talk people off the ledge. Not only do we talk people off the ledge, if they need an in-person intervention, we show up and try to diffuse the crisis in person. We sometimes work hand in hand with police to talk people out of hostage situations, to talk people down from wanting to harm themselves. We really do it all. And we determine what level of care is appropriate for the person. We determine if they can remain in the community or if they need a hospital level of intervention.
So when you go home, can you turn this off?
No, sometimes you do carry cases with you because some days can be very heavy and that's unpredictable.
Wow. So I guess the question I want to ask, when this happened 16 years ago, you were pretty run down.
Oh, I was very run down.
And it's a different organization than you're working for right now,
yes.
Correct?
Yes, it is.
So a little less stress. I mean, I think on your form you said your stress was like a 6.
Yes.
Can we add a 0 to that? Well, it's interesting because I think people that are in urgent care,
mm-hmm.
or, they work in the emergency room, your
mm-hmm.
point of reference is kind of blunted because
Yes.
this is what you do.
Right. You're absolutely right.
So many times people don't realize the amount of stress you have has such an incredible impact on your gut, the integrity of your microbiome,
mm-hmm.
your immunity. So you went into that run down.
Yes.
When you came out of the hospital, how long was it before you started to experience these symptoms? And you may share what you started experiencing right away. Like prior to this, you didn't have gas or bloat, you didn't have constipation.
No, I don't remember my system being this impacted, and especially not in such a negative way. I think, again, I was still at a nice age point where things were running smoothly. And then I felt like maybe within the next, I would say, few months, it became so hard just to do basic functions that my body should have been able to do almost like independently. So going to the bathroom became a chore, and I had to make sure that I was taking in things that would literally help me to just basically use the bathroom.
When you say you're not having a bowel movement.
Yes, not having a bowel movement.
And prior to this, what were your bowels like?
They were functioning normal. I was working out avidly.
You were going every day?
I was going every day. Every day. Yes, I was going every day.
And did you have a couple of bowel movements?
A couple of bowel movements a day,
okay.
Yes.
I want to emphasize this because this is is important.
Yeah.
And I say to people, healthy regular bowel movements are like 2 to 3. And when I hear people just having one, I know that they need something different in their diet or whatever they're doing to enhance bowel activity. It's important. And
yes, it is.
You'll see why as we continue on. Because the problem with those IV antibiotics, they completely wiped out any good bacteria in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
And you needed a little more than just taking a probiotic. And did you start taking probiotics after you got out of the hospital?
I did start taking a probiotic, but even with a probiotic, it still was a lot of work to have a basic bowel movement. Yes.
Okay. And you had gone to a naturopath.
I did. For quite some time, over a year, I'd seen a naturopath.
And during that time, she didn't address your constipation?
No. Mm-mm. We worked on other things. So we worked on lung functioning, but not my constipation. I mean, there were measures put in place, but it never touched what you and I have been able to touch together.
I always say this to all my clients. If there is an underlying gut issue, and if it is not addressed, you will never resolve. I get so excited I'm hitting this new mic stand. You will never resolve your other health issues. And in Chinese medicine, the lung and the large intestine are brother and sister.
Yeah.
They're the metal element. And the first thing I look at the inhalation through the lungs, and energetically, that exhalation, I look at as bowel movement, the metaphoric aspect of brother and sister.
Wow.
I don't know if that might sound kind of funky.
No, it makes sense.
They're both related.
Yeah.
Always, always, always. You've got to get the bowels moving.
Yes.
And a lot of times when people are having difficulty in breathing, part of that is that the diaphragm there's a restriction on the diaphragm because the person isn't able to eliminate properly. I've had people where their bowels were so congested, they were getting a lot of shortness of breath.
Oof.
So were the breathing issues related to the hospitalization, or was that something pre-existing?
So that was also related to the hospitalization. Post my discharge, they then said I had environmental asthma. I had never been diagnosed with asthma anytime prior to that. And so the residuals of what went on with me when I had pneumonia carried into my now new life. And I was told that I had environmental asthma and prescribed an asthma pump to address that issue.
How long were you on it, or did you even use it?
I barely used it. I would say I probably only used it if I did go to exercise and really truly felt like my lungs were really tight and I could not breathe. But outside of that, I never used the asthma pump. Very emergency.
What started happening? This was 2016. We're talking 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You had, which I thought was interesting, is that you started having difficulty digesting meat.
Yes.
And decided that it was time to cut it out. And how long were you a vegetarian? And I'll explain what was going on.
So I would say over 6 years. I just started eating meat over the last year and a half. Mm-hmm. And predominantly, I just started eating majority of meats during our time together. So as of July, I started back eating beef.
And how do you feel?
Much better. I have much more energy. I feel like I'm digesting my meats much better. Very, very different than I felt in the past. My food would just sit in the past, and now I feel like I'm digesting and eliminating.
Well, the issue with antibiotics, they can actually reduce hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes. And you need hydrochloric acid to break down meat, and you need hydrochloric acid to kill bacteria before it can travel any further down the GI tract, which leaves people more susceptible to parasites. And we're going to get into that because this lady is clearing parasites right now. So a lot of times, and I've said this in the past, if you're like, oh, I can't eat meat, I'm not meant to eat it, I can't digest it, it means that you need stomach acid. And we need stomach acid to break down protein. That's Mother Nature's way of helping us. And a vegetarian diet, it's missing a lot of amino acids that you get from meat. So that can contribute to you being tired and a variety of things. But again, we need ample amount of hydrochloric acid. So when Ky'Osha came to see me, you were going once every few days?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, once every few days.
I'm going to break out my little protocol what I did. The most important thing, I don't care if people are coming in with 50,000 symptoms. I've got to make sure you're pooing. Because if you're not having a bowel movement, nothing changes. So my focus with everyone is I strategize. What do you need to have daily bowel movement? And I just could tell that Ky'Osha needed hydrochloric acid. So I put her on hydrochloric acid, and I put her on plant-based digestive enzymes, pancreatic enzymes.
Yes.
And I gave her magnesium citrate. I use different types of magnesium. I give people magnesium citrate when they're having issues of constipation. It kind of helps to hydrate the bowels. I had placed her on a product called Candibactin BR that had berberine in it, antimicrobial, and some other herbs. And the reason I did that, because I wanted to make sure that we ran a stool test. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do a full gut panel. I wanted to see, did she have any bacterial infections? Which she did, and I'll go through that in a moment. Was she digesting food? Where were the problems? What came back in the test is that she had low stomach acid, very low pancreatic enzymes, and all I cared about, I have to get her to poo. And I had her do castor oil packs.
Yes.
Do castor oil treatments. You can look at them online. Castor oil is incredible. You use castor oil with heat on the belly, and it just starts to help stimulate the liver. Yes. The portal vein starts opening up, and it starts helping you in dislodging a lot of that old fecal matter. So you can start having bowel movement. I also suggested that she see a colonic therapist.
Oh, yes.
Who I lost her name again. I want to speak to this woman. How long was it before you went to, was it Patty?
Yes, Patty.
You went to see Patty a couple of months later?
Yes, it was approximately, I would say 3 to 4 months later after you and I began working together.
Yeah, I kept saying, you need to go to, you need colonics.
Yes.
Sometimes the truth is, clients are going to do what they feel they're able to do in the moment. I was thrilled that she was doing the HCl, the digestive enzymes, the magnesium, the Candibactin BR, and also, I talk about this. It's very important to open up drainage. Yes. Drainage is essential. What is drainage? We want to open the filters in the pool. We want to look at, we're opening up the bile duct, the liver duct, lymphatic drainage, the bowels, the kidneys. Again, if the filters in the pool are murky, the water is going to be murky. So you can keep throwing water in the pool, or you get to the root cause and get the stuff out of the filters. I love fulvic and humic acid. They help in opening up drainage, supporting cellular health. I talk about it in the last 3 podcasts. Take a listen. So first stage for people when they're having constipation or anything, I open up drainage. Otherwise, you're not going to detox. Right. And then I open up the bowels at the same time, because I'm not going to give people supplements that could quote unquote detox, and they're going to get deathly ill. She can't take it in. So the most important thing is looking at the supplements. I place people on an anti-inflammatory food program. What does that
Mhm.
mean? It means eating real food that grows in the earth. It's eating healthy pastured meats. During this time, I usually suggest to people when they're constipated, a lot of stews and
Mhm.
soups, very easy on digestion. This is where my Chinese medicine, my background of 30-something years comes in, because I have that real East meets West approach. I want to make it easy on digestion, everything, so that the body gives itself permission to start releasing and letting these things go. And I took wheat, corn, and dairy out of your diet because
Yes.
I think you had a lot of that going on. Wheat
Yes.
is, if anybody having constipation issues, get off wheat and dairy and
Yeah.
see what happens. You'll be surprised. There's a lot more to it, but gluten, I had a friend of mine who was a colonic therapist in New York, and she was Australian. I love this gal. She was awesome. And she would just tell people, get off gluten
Mhm.
because it's like cement in your GI tract. It's not just it's difficult to digest, but it clogs.
Right.
It is difficult to digest.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, some people may disagree, but as many of you know, I'm not a big fan of gluten because I feel that it contributes to leaky gut and that contributes to inflammation. Tell people what happened after just a few weeks. What is the difference that you noticed?
Oh, there's major differences. For number one, I'm using the bathroom. I mean,
You're having daily.
I am having daily bowel movements. I'm going a few times a day. I do not have the burps that I was having. I was having these really weird where it sounded like air was being sucked out of me. It just sounded really weird, but I had really weird burps. I was having flank pain. All of that is
Yes.
gone now. Really, it is gone. My energy levels.
Well, you know what also changed too, honey bunny, is that you, I can't believe this, you were living on 5 hours of sleep.
Oh, yes. Oh.
I left out an important piece, which
I was
this is
not
why I love
sleeping.
taking notes. We have to look at lifestyle. It's not all just about food and supplements.
You're telling the truth.
She was completely sleep deprived.
Yes.
So her body was living in a perpetual low-grade stress response.
Yes.
And she was working out
Yes.
early in the morning like a warrior, a lot.
Yeah.
And I just said, guess what? You need 8 to 9 hours of sleep.
Yes, you did.
And dial back on the workouts. You'll get back to working out, but not to that intense degree. It's too much. Right now, we need your body. We have to give your body permission to heal and recover.
Yes.
Sleep is some of the best medicine, right?
You're not lying, honestly. And you're right. I was not sleeping. Now, you told me there's absolutely no getting up and going to work out that early. You need to prioritize your sleep.
Yeah, some of you girls get up before Jesus. I mean, Jesus would be like, go back to bed, girl. You need your rest.
Sleep is important.
I get up early, but sometimes lately, because I'm just doing a lot of writing and different things, I'll get up at 5:30, but I'm in bed by 9:30.
Oh, okay. Major difference.
Yeah.
Major difference.
So if I'm going to have an early day, I'm in bed. The cat loves it. The cat's like, oh, we're going to bed now. He gets in his little bed next to me, and then
that's cute.
I'm out. I'm gone. But sleep is really important.
Yes. And I worked second shift, and that was something that you told me.
Oh, God, that's right. You were working, what were your hours?
3:30 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Ugh.
So not sleeping at all.
And what are your shifts now? Has that changed?
It has not changed, but what has changed is, like you said, you made me prioritize my sleep. So now that I go to bed later, I absolutely wake up much later and then start my day.
Okay. What time are you going to bed now?
Oh, I try to get into bed because I don't get home till 12 a.m. by 1:30. And that's still really late. But I'm not waking up till around 9:30, 10 a.m.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. We started working together beginning of July.
Yes.
And then I had you do a gut Zoomer test.
Yes.
And 2 months later, I got the results
Mm-hmm.
and I called her on the phone.
She sure did.
And during this time, she decided, or even prior, she was eating a lot of shellfish. And I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea. A lot of crabs, right?
You got me.
Crab
yes.
legs.
You got me. Yes.
She had a bacteria called Pelisomonas shigelloides. Say that real fast. Basically, that is a bacteria that we see in contaminated water and shellfish. She was eating a lot of shellfish.
I was.
So I called her up. They said, you have this bacterial infection, and I'm immediately going to put you on a strong antimicrobial with different herbs.
Yes.
And I had olive leaf, berberine, caprylic acid, garlic, oregano oil, uva ursi. I mean, just had a black walnut.
Yes.
Had a lot of stuff. But her bowels were moving.
Mm-hmm.
I also gave her at this time another product with it called Para One, and it's pudica seed. And pudica seed, it's good stuff. Actually, what it does, it scrubs the bowels and can dislodge biofilm, that mucousy long stuff, and parasites.
Ooh.
So, share your story about parasites.
Well. So Meg cracked a code and she began cleaning out. I call them the issues in my tissues because I have been releasing parasites. I do take pictures of them. I have showed Meg the pictures of them, and they are very long in nature. They look very different. Sometimes they are biofilm, but I would say majority of them have been parasites.
And I just want to clarify something. Parasites did not show up in her stool test.
No.
And a lot of times parasites don't, because it'll hide out in the liver and the pancreas and funky places. So I don't always go by stool test. And if they do show up in stool tests, then you know it's bad.
Yeah.
But she did have that bacteria, and I wanted to address it right away. And I knew with the formulation I gave her, I knew she had parasites. There was no doubt in my mind. And combining it with that pudica seed Para One by Cellcore, it scrubs the bowels and it dislodges these parasites. So this woman here, Ky'Osha's been passing parasites over the past few months.
Yes, I have.
A lot of times when I'm clearing parasites, I want to make sure that I'm looking at environmental factors, looking at chemicals, looking at mycotoxins that come from mold, environmental toxins. And Ky'Osha finally is going to be doing this urine test because I feel part of her issue is that she has some underlying mold, and mold can play a big role in parasites. So I want to see, does something else need to be clear that will help in the release of parasites? Here's something interesting too. I've known people that have had parasites, their doctor put them on one round of antibiotics for it. You can't get rid of parasites in one round. I wish I could tell you that that's possible, but they lay eggs.
Yes.
And a lot of times people will do what is called the full moon cleanse. Parasites become very active around the full moon. Serotonin increases in the body, melatonin drops. You may notice at times your sleep is a little wonky around the full moon.
Yes.
But they become very active at the full moon and also at the new moon. What I will be doing with Ky'Osha in moving forward, we're going to be doing every month for a while. We're going to do full moon cleanses. I don't want to keep doing them long periods. It can be very draining. And I feel like she's been clearing for the past few months.
Yes.
I'm going to take a little step back and go at it every full moon. And I also feel when I get that tox burden screen back, I'm going to have a better idea of what's going on with you. Okay. So we can strategically attack what's going on. You're on the right supplements to address this. I'm totally confident in it.
Okay.
But your body needs a break.
Yes.
And you'll just probably naturally just continue to pass some stuff. You've had a lot of parasites.
Oh, yes. There have been many.
You know, I'm going to share. I had parasites too. And still from some time to time, I do a full moon, I'll pass something. It took me about a year.
Wow.
I was in Vietnam at the beginning of my career, and I picked up Giardia, and I know I picked up something else. And I was bitten by some funky bug. So I had a combination. It wasn't Lyme, but I had other things going on. And I had parasites, and it took a full year for me to clear them. So I wasn't clearing them every day. I would do these intense periods, and then I'd back off. And I would do these intense periods and then back off. And then around the full moon, I would do a protocol, and I would do that for a window, a few days before the full moon, a day after. And what is interesting is that when you, my dear, started clearing parasites, your back pain and your flank pain went away.
Yes.
And the tingling.
Yes. And the numbness.
Tell them what symptoms cleared.
Oh, yeah. So I was having major flank pain. I was having tingling. I was having numbness. I was having, like we said before, the constipation. And honestly, and I've said this to you, Meg, you were the only practitioner who said to me, I can clear that. I can help you with that. And I guarantee you, by the time we're done together, you won't have those symptoms anymore. You were the only practitioner who took me serious and didn't make me feel like I was making this up.
Well, part of the issue with conventional medicine is that they address symptoms and they
Yes.
don't look at root cause.
No.
And docs in this country are not trained in parasites. If you go to South America, very different training
Right.
for doctors than here. They treat parasites all the time. So the thing with parasites, people are like, oh, it must mean that you travel. That's why you got them. Contaminated food. I mean, the handling of food that's unsanitary in a restaurant,
Right.
uncooked meat or fish, public bathrooms.
Right.
Don't sit on that toilet
Right.
seat. Start doing your squats so you learn, so you know how to straddle that seat. Do not sit on that seat. I don't care if you put paper down. Don't do that.
that's
I'm
funny.
very serious.
I agree.
And international travel.
Yes.
What leaves us more susceptible to parasites? Low stomach acid. So a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm getting heartburn and I'm burping. It's because you have low stomach acid.
Right.
And again, low stomach acid helps you break down protein and it kills bacteria in the gut.
Yes.
Yeah, and parasites, they can really deplete the body of nutrients and minerals, which contributes to tingling and other issues, sleep disturbances. I mean, they're taking up residence in you and they're not even paying rent.
They're sure not.
No, damn those little boogers. But I will tell you, when I started clearing parasites, I started working on that and I had a lot of mold. It was a combination. I had mold exposure in Charleston, 3 different homes, and I brought this up. Once I started clearing mold and doing a protocol, and I just started passing parasites, I never knew I had them. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even tell you how much better I felt. It was amazing. So much better. I had weird aches and pains. I just had weird stuff, weird inflammation. I couldn't figure it out. And it's a big issue for people. So
Yes.
quite honestly, everyone I work with, I address your gut and I do put people on a parasite cleanse. And people go, I don't have parasites. I'm like, yeah, you got some stuff hanging out. We all do. We all do. And it's not always going to be these dramatic, long, hookworms and ropeworms and tapeworms and stuff. It could be little things, but you might go, wow, I'm feeling so much better.
Yes.
But here's something too. I've had people constipated and then they'll do a full moon cleanse. And I'm like, you can't pass parasites. You can't even have a bowel movement. So anytime you're considering, I want to do a detox, I want to change, you've got to get your bowels moving. And you want to be able to have 2 to 3 solid bowel movements daily.
A day.
And that's what think about how much food that you eat in a day. Think about how much food that you eat in a week.
Right.
I mean, this is tremendous. Yeah, so it was a layering.
Yes.
I also had you on really, really good, and I think you are. You're on a liquid multivitamin. Are you on
I
am.
Liquid? I'm still on the Mother Earth Labs. Yes.
Mother Earth Labs has the most amazing liquid multivitamin. I love it because it's so bioavailable. It's easy to absorb. And it's got fulvic and humic in it and a lot of minerals.
It sure does.
And anytime I'm working with someone and I really want to work on the gut, so I have you on a higher dose of that. And I just think it's great. It's like high B vitamins and stuff. And we also use glutamine to heal your gut.
Yes,
and
we do.
I use different probiotics that were reflective of what I saw in Ky'Osha's stool test. I looked at what bacteria was, where the overgrowth was. I looked at what bacteria that I needed to support that she was lacking. So I always play around with probiotics.
The synergy was big too.
Oh, GI synergy? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't say products because I just don't want people going out, I think I'm going to take this product. I have a lot of clinical experience and I'm very choosy and selective in what I give people for certain things. And I used I use Synergy 64 by Apex, but I was very clear on what she needed and how long she needed to be on this. I give a lot of credit to people. You're trying to figure out your stuff. Your doc isn't figuring it out.
No.
Doctors, they don't learn anything about nutrition. They get maybe a few weeks. They're not trained in looking at why is this person having low stomach acid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of crazy because a lot of times people are having terrible GERD and burping, and they're given a proton pump inhibitor.
Yes.
Well, that's canceling out your stomach acid even further, contributing to malabsorption, bone density issues, parasites, malabsorption of folate and
Right.
B12, osteopenia, osteoporosis. We shouldn't just, I don't guess. Somebody has a symptom. I want to do some testing to figure out
Yeah,
why
you
they're
do.
having this symptom.
You have been very thorough with that, Meg.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be. I mean, there's certain things like, I don't know. Or if I want certain labs, I'll have clients have labs done by their doctor. And if the doc doesn't do them, then I'll run some labs.
Mm-hmm.
We can't guess with what is going on with an individual. And again, it's conventional training. Conventional medicine is failing people because
Right.
it's not about wellness.
Right.
And I do love the fact that there are conventional doctors out there that are waking up going, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It's time that I start understanding what functional medicine is. And that's not taking a 1-week course. That is actually taking years. I mean, I've studied side by side with MDs when attending seminars around the country. And my gosh, they gave you an antibiotic
Yes.
for a lung infection. And he said to you, and I asked her this like 4 times before this podcast, I said, he told you it was viral? You had a viral infection. He put you on a Z-Pack because he thought maybe you'd go bacterial. Well, it didn't. And then you're in the hospital for 5-6 days. And that entire time you're on IV antibiotics and they're like, oops, it's viral.
Right. Right.
That's malpractice.
Yeah. Major malpractice.
This is like we're going to bring Joey the mechanic. Hi, Joey, you're back. Meg, your car is clanking. I need to replace, I don't know, let's come up with another part. You need a new engine.
Oh,
right?
A major part of the vehicle, right?
You need a new engine. But Joey, why do I need a new engine?
Right.
Because your car's clanking. But Joey, my tire's dragging in the back. No, you need a new engine. Well, can you imagine if you went to a mechanic and he said that, or you need, I don't know, a new brake system, and actually all you had was a loose screw? You'd be pissed off.
Absolutely.
Doctors need to think like auto mechanics. They want to figure out what's wrong with your car. And we're in a system where somebody ends up in a doctor's office, and that doctor maybe at the most has 10 minutes to figure out what's wrong with this person. And you kind of fell through the cracks.
Yes. Major.
Yeah. You were smart enough to say you tried different things. You
Yes.
tried to change your diet. You thought
Yes.
if you went on a plant-based diet that this would be good. And you tried a lot of stuff, and you went to a naturopath. And she kind of missed the boat too.
Yes.
You got to get to the gut. You get to the gut. You look at gut. You look at drainage. You look at how well is this person detoxing. You look at, is their gut leaky? Is their liver leaky? Do they have liver sludge? How do we open up the liver? Major detoxification takes place in the liver. Things like doing infrared saunas are great. I love that you work out. It's important to move. We need to move. We need to move. Physically, emotionally. I think I just read an article. I got to figure out where to put this damn little microphone. Just keep hitting it. I'm Italian, I use my hands. But yeah, there was a study that just came out, and it basically said people are more creative when they work out.
Yes.
Because they're using their brain. So, working out, exercise, movement reduces PMS symptoms.
Reduces
helps
stress.
With digestion, lowers cortisol.
Yes.
Buffers stress. But you have to find the balance. So you're not working out like a warrior.
Right.
Walk.
Yes.
Which I'm going to do after this. What's important in the healing process, too, is you have to find time for yourself and joy.
Very important.
Joy is like people go, we need joy.
Yes.
The reason we love nature, because I think it brings us back to something very primal that is just, I think it's in our DNA, that we have a connection to nature. We have a connection to light. We have a
Yes.
connection to sound, to music, these tones, these frequencies in sound and in light, and walking in nature, grounding your feet on the ground. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's scientifically proven
Yeah.
to make such an impact on your health. We are energetic beings.
Yes,
We're
we are.
wired to thrive. We truly are. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason that people are getting sick is that we are exposed to things that we were never exposed to even 30, 40 years ago. And the body doesn't know what to do with it. It doesn't know how to detox it. It's like, what the bleep is like, what the fuck is this about? What is this? What am I inhaling? I went for a chiropractic adjustment yesterday. And guess what they had in there? They
What?
had one of those plugins. And I
Oh,
walked to the desk and I'm like, why do you have this
a
in the
plug-in.
wall? She
Right.
looked at me and said, sweetheart, I'm more concerned about you than, I mean, I'm smelling it. It's
Right.
hellacious.
It's a hormone disrupting.
Oh, it's an endocrine
Yeah.
disruptor, but it's it time phthalates.
Yeah.
Anything that has a lingering scent, that's petroleum base.
Right.
You're not supposed to be inhaling that stuff.
No.
So,
No.
we're exposed to things we don't even know it.
Right.
So this is why I say to people, eat whole food, eat vegetables, eat at home more. And people are like, I don't like to cook. Learn how to cook.
Right.
Food is
Absolutely.
medicine. It really is. But having the right direction,
Mhm.
having somebody kind of guide you.
Absolutely.
And then what'll happen with Ky'Osha, she's going to get in a good place. And then she'll
Mhm.
come and check in with me every season.
Oh,
Because
yes.
why? Because it's about prevention. Wellness should be about prevention. I want to
Yes.
see people when they're well and then make recommendations during that season and keeping people in a well place. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. I think you're
You know?
making a fabulous point.
Or if you're like, Meg, something's a little weird. I'm like, okay, let's do a session. Let's see what's going on.
Right.
We nip it in the bud because the body is wired and designed to thrive.
Right.
It is. For some reason, we've gotten out of touch with that. We're like, well, my doctor knows best. If I take this pill, anytime you have a symptom, it's your body telling you, hey, something's out of whack.
Right.
Sometimes it gets, you'll get a little ache.
Mhm.
You're like, I'm not going to do anything. I'll take a Advil. And then the ache starts really progressing. And then somebody's like hitting it with a hammer. And then eventually a sledgehammer comes out and you're like, wow, I'm making this up. This person is having a lung issue. I don't know. But the point is your body will give you cues when something is amiss. And what I see with women, sometimes they're having PMS and eventually they start developing fibroids.
Right.
And a lot of doctors will say, well, we'll just wait and see what happens. What are you going to wait and see for? It's just going to grow.
Right.
You want to see someone like myself to say, how do we shrink this? Or if you do need a myomectomy, if you do need that fibroid removed, what are we going to do to make sure that you're detoxing estrogen efficiently so it doesn't come back? That's what we want to do. I know I sound like the broken mantra. We are really designed to thrive. And, a lot of people are getting flu shots and they're doing all these different things. It's like, let's make sure your vitamin D is good. Are you getting outside and getting sunlight? What are you doing to strengthen your immunity?
Right.
When I was in New York, man, I was treating people sick all the time. I never got sick. I would get sick if I was run down. And then I knew what to take to rebound from that. And I was like, I need a little more rest. I need a little more downtime.
Right.
So I'm not the poster child. I mean, I get my stuff too and have to pay attention to it. As I get older, I get aches and pains that I realize for me, having maintenance of really good chiropractic really seems to resonate. And I work with a trainer just to keep me really balanced and keep me nice and strong.
And lean.
I eat a lot of protein.
Yes. Yes.
And enjoy life.
Yes.
So, any closing words, my life? Oh, today you have a graduation.
I do.
And share with our audience.
So today I'll be graduating with my doula certificate, and that is very exciting because it's a new journey for me to embark on.
So are you looking to eventually just be a doula or combine the two?
I am going to have a dual career. I am also postpartum certified, and so I would like to offer therapeutic services for women who are pregnant in postpartum. Yes.
This is great. And my next episode in January is on infertility.
Look
But
at
I'm going to
that.
take a different angle
Yeah.
because it's, the beginning of the year is about what do we give birth to in our lives?
Yes.
What are we creating?
Yes.
I am so delighted that you could join me today. Any closing words, anything you'd like to share with our listeners?
I would just say working with you has been extremely beneficial. I think if I share anything, it is to not ignore the symptoms, because I think as a society, we are taught that wellness is aesthetic. And we forget that our body, like you said, is really giving us warning signs. Rather than us looking it on the outside, we have to truly listen to what is going on the inside and find practitioners who will listen to you the first time you say you're experiencing something and not make you doubt yourself when you know that your body is not well.
That's great. And on that note, I'd like to say to people, if you want to take a deeper dive in your health and you would like to work with me, I'll put a link in the show notes, but go to megarichichi.com and let's set up a discovery call and see if we are a good fit for one another and if I can help you in your health journey to be the best version of who you are. So I want to thank all of you sweet listeners. May you have a glorious holiday season. And thank you for joining me and Ky'Osha today on the Hormone Lifestyle Zone. Be well, much love, much grace. Take care.